Hello to all you families and prospects out there. We got a great college profile for you today. We got Coach Licursi from Bryant Stratton, Ohio. It's a brand spanking new junior college program, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his university, what he's been working on. And Coach, we just really appreciate you having you taking the time to be with us today.
Ryan, I appreciate you, partner. I love what you guys are doing, and it's an exciting time here in Solon, Ohio. We're looking to bring junior college baseball to Northeast Ohio and, create a resurgence. And, we're really proud of what we have going on. So it's a pleasure, and I look forward to it.
All right, Coach. Well, first question I have for you, I love hearing the backgrounds about coaches because it's always a journey. So why don't you go ahead and take some time to explain your baseball background and what led you to Bryant and Stratton?
Yeah, it's a grind, right? And I think a lot of coaches and even, parents and recruits can kind of, acknowledge that for a lot of us, it's tough, and we got to work our way up the ladder, and we have to learn from each situation that we're in, each opportunity, and try to, take something from it and, move forward positively. In the short term, last season, I was at Lake Erie College. It's a Division school. They play in the GMAC. And I was just really fortunate to be part of a staff that had really high standards for player development, for how they were going to run a team. And, I can't say enough about the quality of players that were there and the folks that, really made that thing run. Just a lot of talented kids who, were willing to let me join their family, right? Because they'd been together for 2, 3, some of them 4 years. And I was just a new guy who asked a lot of questions. I wanted to hustle, right? I knew that. I knew I was going to work hard. I knew I could make an impact on the recruiting trail for them. So I'm really proud of some of the folks that we brought in there. And a big part of recruiting there was looking at junior college baseball players. So it's definitely something that I'm familiar with now, moving to that level as a head coach. Just got really great exposure to technology, level programming. I had the opportunity at Lake Erie to coach with a coaching staff that had a serious background in player development. The pitching coach there was actually a former Driveline employee, and he's at Driveline now. So in terms of the development, pitch design, utilizing technology to our advantage, I think it's, something that we can bring to the junior college level. Obviously, the top programs have it, but I think bringing it out at this level at our school, I think we're going to make it more mainstream. So like I said earlier, you just try to learn from your experiences and the situations you're in, and you try to take, advantage of opportunities. And it just so happened that at Lake Erie, they let me be a part of something, really special. So baseball has obviously been a really important part. I grew up and I played Division II baseball. I was an average player. I had one good season in college. I was all conference, and I was able to make an impact that way. I didn't play in the pros, obviously, but there were obviously a lot of lessons that I was able to learn as a player, and it's stuff that I use as a coach, today. After I graduated in college, I really didn't dip my toes into the coaching world until like 5 or 6 years after. I was primarily in sales and marketing. Website design, social media, branding, stuff like that. So I used my high motor to try to, make a career that way. And I found myself unfulfilled in terms of what my job was. And, I tried really hard to have a high effort and to make an impact, like I said, but there was something missing. And dirt honesty is that, standing in front of a computer all day, making sales presentations, doing website stuff, it's not baseball. Okay, so 5 or 6 years after I graduated, I started doing innocence and just working with kids that way. Started at the youth level. I've coached kids that were 5 years old with autism. I've coached 18, 19-year-old kids that are Division I signees. So, and kind of everything in between. Something that I'm pretty proud of is that, I don't tell no to many kids. And I'm definitely in this to give people opportunities. And it's something that's definitely fulfilling. And, being a head coach at a junior college now, it's the highlight of my life at this point, professionally and personally. It's everything to me.
So 2021 is going to be the school's first ever baseball season. take a little bit of time to explain what initiatives, what your recruiting has looked like, what gains you've already made before you've even had a pitch thrown.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, honestly, that's one of the first questions that prospective recruits are going to ask, right? And that they have been asking, and parents too, obviously. And, I don't want to seem too harsh, but before getting into the details and some of the progress that we've made, I just want to make the statement that we do not consider ourselves a first-year program, period, okay? And that includes everybody from the coaching staff to the players to me. I've asked the coaching staff to evaluate me and where our program is at from a third-year perspective. And listen, when those guys get on where we should have been 2 years from now, but right now, okay, kind of Terminator time travel style, we weren't where we needed to be, right? So what happens is we kicked it into another gear. And in terms of standards, right, we can't hold kids to low standards. And when I first started, a lot of the feedback that I was getting from people was, hey, listen, this is the first year, right? Just get it going, okay? You're going to take your lumps. And in the back of my mind, I listened to it, but dirt honesty is that I didn't believe it for 1 second. And I never will. So I've been heavily involved with baseball and player development for the last 10 years. So again, it's not my first rodeo. The coaches that we have on the coaching staff, and we'll get into it in more detail later, have Major League Baseball player development experience, Division I playing experience, Division II coaching experience. So again, this isn't our first season, so to speak. But with that being said, baseball was announced last fall. It was a program of one, right? And you're looking at the guy who was doing it. I think it was in fast forward a month later, and this is after obviously putting in some effort from a recruiting perspective. We had our first commit. So it's a middle infielder from Florida. He's a sub-7 runner. He throws low 80s. He hits low 90s. He's a smooth-hitting, power-hitting middle infielder. And he's a guy that if you do your research on him, you can see his progression. From showcase to showcase, age 13 to 14 to 15, 16, 17, 18. I mean, literally, I just did some digging on this guy, and he's a guy that is progressing steadily, but he's still super skinny and projectable, and that's definitely one of the things that we're looking for. So recruiting has obviously been, where our focus has been. From a recruiting perspective, gave us instant credibility for parents, for prospective student athletes, for coaches in the industry. They were able to see the kind of guys that we were bringing in. And I think pretty fast the industry was able to see that this isn't just a junior college baseball program. It's actually a launching pad. So obviously in the fall, with recruiting being a priority, I'm also talking with folks at facilities, trying to coordinate home field, stuff like that, right? I mean, when you're starting from scratch and you don't really have anything to go from, those are the types of things that you need to focus on. So equally as important is trying to put together a coaching staff, right? And one of the things you're going to get as a college coach from recruits, especially a new program, is who else is coaching with you. So it's definitely a place to where I think we're blessed to be in the position we're in. And, we'll be talking about what our coaching staff looks like later on. But in the fall, I was hustling, just running around. And luckily, the city of Solon, where our campus is located, has an incredible baseball field that the high school uses as well. Okay, so the city runs it. The city maintains it. There was a $250,000 donation just by chance while we were launching this baseball program to completely renovate the infield and install turf. So I think you'll be able to show some video for the folks later. This is a first-class facility. So again, when we talk about this being a new program, I honestly don't compare myself, and I don't see us as a new program. So, we're talking about September, October, we're getting those things done. Fast forward to November, and we had our first prospect camp. Just again, kind of hustling, trying to put everything together. And we actually ended up getting 8 signees from our prospect camp, which was pretty incredible. To help run that baseball camp and to help generate interest and, just make the thing run smoothly, we were able to find volunteer coaches on a very short timeline. 2 of those coaches are now full-time associates here at Bryant Stratton after being purely volunteer, just driving in, working on the good of their conscience, right, just to try to make a difference in people's lives. And, fortunately, after 3, 4, 5 months of doing that, they were rewarded by this company. And that's something that this company, does a really good job at, is that they recognize and they value hard work and they value output. So in November, we have our first prospect camp. And we kind of knew going in who was going to come and who we were excited about. That's not to say that, there weren't surprises, but we ended up getting an undersized right-hander. He's, mid-80s with breaking ball. Okay. He's low effort from a standpoint of how he moves. He's projectable in his frame. Okay. And he's got, a developing changeup. So we ended up connecting with a recruit from Florida. He's a 6'6" right-handed pitcher. He's athletic enough to be a catcher at the high school level, and he also drops bombs as a hitter. Okay, so 6'6", mid-80s with power and pop. I mean, maybe we got a little bit lucky. I don't know. I just clicked on the phone with some of these guys, and these guys honestly had more courage than I did starting this program, right? Because I have some experience at this. This isn't my first rodeo. Like I said, these kids have never been involved with college baseball. Okay. They didn't know me, okay? I found them on the internet, saw a video. I called them, we clicked, and they drove straight to Ohio and made it happen. So I still remember that night when he committed, meeting his mom, meeting his sister, just, learning his holy and, finding out if this really was a good fit. And fortunately enough, we were able to put together a package that made sense for, him and his family. And, in a couple months, he's going to be here just throwing fastballs by people. So super excited about it. I don't have enough time to talk about everybody, but Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, a lot of our infield is from that prospect camp. We'll pretty much go everywhere, right? I mean, as a point, we tried to have a strong foothold in Ohio from a recruit, but, dirt honest is that we would be doing ourselves, our team, and our company, right, a disservice by limiting the net, so to speak, the scope of where we were going, because my worst fear, my biggest regret would be overlooking somebody that had potential, because that's what this level's all about.
So next question, what advantages do you feel you have as a JUCO coach compared to the other levels of college baseball right now?
That's a good question. Junior college presents many advantages for the right type of people. So it's, from a recruiting perspective, from a roster perspective, we're allowed 24 scholarships, which is incredible. Okay. It's way more than any other level. And, we're very fortunate. It's something as a coaching staff that we definitely take advantage of, right? Because that's one of the best things you can do as a coach is give a guy an opportunity and a scholarship. That being said, obviously, this is a business and we've got to be smart about where we're investing our money and where we're putting our priorities in investing. So it's a fine balance for folks. Junior college presents opportunity to develop at an accelerated rate. It's because we can play more games, we can practice more, we can lift more. Okay, we can get at it hardcore. There's less in terms of compliance that we need to follow compared to, say, NCAA organizations. So when you put those together and you realize that on a junior college baseball roster, for the most part, dealing with 17, 18-year-olds that you're competing against for playing 22-year-olds, possibly even older if you're talking about red shirts and grad transfers and that sort of thing. So the playing field is level, okay? And, the last benefit I would say, and this applies to some of the guys that we brought on and, maybe, in a surprising way for a first-year program, is that we've got some guys with pro ability. We've got guys with pro bodies. We've got pro arms on our team in 1 or 2 years. And at the NCAA level, you can't get drafted your first year. In the junior college level, you can.
Next question. All right. I know you haven't played a game at Bryant Stratton yet, but are there some, like, looking back at your experience, do you have any particular favorite coaching moments or memories that you feel really reveal your love for the game and the pride you take in your coaching career?
Yeah, there's some that come to mind. And, I mentioned that I was at Lake Erie last season. It's a team that was picked, 11th in preseason polls, okay? And those guys didn't let that stop them. And, like I said earlier, they were really welcoming to me. They let me be part of their family really fast. And, that last practice there before we got to the GMAC tournament, right? So we ended up being the 4th seed. we had a tough practice, and the guys ran a lot, and they were pushed kind of the limit. And near the end, they're just like any other team does at the end of a practice or, after a game, they all got together and they huddled and they were, doing what kids do. And, out of nowhere, they had me break it down, man. And I couldn't come up with anything other than I love those guys. And that's the dirt honest truth. That's what I told them.